This episode is a Patreon-sponsored review by my lovely supporters over on Patreon. Special shoutouts to Jade the Blue RDM and Soundwave for being my executive producers. And if you want to become one of my producers and help support the show financially, then check the description down below for my Patreon and go check it out. And be sure to hit that little bell icon to join the wonderful Brony Bell Brigade. Now that that PSC is out of the way, on with the show. Guru Readings, Bronies, and Pegasus is the Watchful Ponia, and welcome to Watchful's Watchings. And I know my next Watchful Watchings was going to be about Shadowplay, but the thing is, I got one convention after the other and I got next to no time. So I needed something a little more simpler to tackle. So I figured I would expand upon an idea me and EG Studios covered a while back in a collab we did, and how very similar Amaterasu and Celestia were in nature. But the thing is, it got me thinking that a lot of the princesses and a lot of their great evils have a lot of similarities to real life culture. So I figured I would do it again, only this time for all the princesses and all their great evils, and find if they have any similarities between actual cultural gods and creatures. Now for the record, this is a complete guess going off everything I've learned and found out in research. I have no idea if they actually drew influence from any of what I'm about to say, but it's still fun to analyze all the same. But enough about that, let's get started with a brief overview of Celestia. Now like I said, I already did a collab in a previous video talking about the parallels between her and Amaterasu. So if you want more expansion on that topic, you can check out the video right here with the link card right now or at the end of the video. However, to sum it up, Celestia and Amaterasu both ruled over the sun and were also considered mothers of all creation, very much how Celestia is considered the mother figure of all of Equestria. And they both had siblings that they needed to banish. Which, yeah, let's talk about Luna next. Now originally I said Luna was very much like Tsukuyomi. They both controlled the moon, they both had a sibling who controlled the sun, and both were banished. However, I think Luna also shares a lot of similarities to the Egyptian lunar god Thoth. While not all writings say this, some writings do say that Thoth is in fact related to Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun. And I know that doesn't seem like much of a connection, seeing as how most mythologies have it that the sun and moon gods are very much related in some way, shape, or form, just like how Luna and Celestia are. However, there are a couple things involving Thoth that do share some similarities with Luna. For one thing, an animal that was very heavily associated with Thoth was the ibis, which is a kind of bird. And I'm sure we've all heard the jokes about the princesses looking like birds. Want more proof? How about this? Since Thoth was very much associated with Sisat, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, Thoth was also considered a very knowledgeable and wisdom-like god. Very much how when Luna invades the CMC's dreams, she's very knowledgeable and wise towards them. It was also said that the Egyptians would call upon Thoth when they needed something involving lots of wisdom or magic. Very much how Luna is a very powerful magic user. But I think for me, this is the most damning evidence. It would be often believed that in order to appease Thoth, you would have to create a Book of Shadows, which is basically a spell book. And while yes, Luna doesn't really have a spell book and it's not really a requirement for Luna, there are some very specific types of spells that are associated with Thoth's Book of Shadows. And they are specifically words of healing or meditation or mediating problems. I mean, between Luna showing her wisdom on the CMC and helping mediate their problems, as well as the almost meditative state she seems to enter whenever she enters people's dreams, I mean, for me anyway, I think that's the most damning evidence of them all. Next up, we're moving on to Cadence. Now I know one of the most immediate comparisons that come to mind is Aphrodite. I mean, after all, she is the goddess of love and marriage. However, in my research, I found that Aphrodite was apparently a very cranky, self-absorbed person who had a very wrathful side to her. Like, no joke, there's a story that claims that Aphrodite made another woman fall in love with a white bull, causing her to get pregnant and give birth to the Minotaur, one of the most profound creatures in all of Greek mythology, all because the woman she scorned said she was prettier than Aphrodite. Yeah, that doesn't sound like Cadence, does it? Also, despite what Derpy Boomer might want you to believe, Cadence is not a hooker. Okay, they might be a little harsh towards Aphrodite, but come on, what else am I supposed to infer when all my research claims that she has multiple lovers and is married? And for the record, if you are a person that's in that kind of relationship, where you're in a committed relationship with someone, but you're still sleeping with other people and you're both okay with it, as long as you're both consenting, you're both fine, and no one's getting hurt in the situation, then you do you. I'm fine with that. But in the context of this, that doesn't sound like Cadence at all. Honestly, I think a far better, far more flattering comparison is that Cadence resembles more Frasier. Frasier was a Norse goddess, and she was often considered a badass warrior, but was also a goddess of fertility. Okay, first of all, Frasier was considered the goddess of abundance and fertility, and considering Cadence was able to give birth to literally the unbirthable, I think there's a pretty solid parallel right there in my opinion. But it was also believed that Frasier would assist with childbirth and conception and aid with marital problems. And one of the first things we see Cadence do is aid a couple that's arguing, or at least I hope they're a couple. Did we ever find out if they are a couple or not? I need to know this because this is really freaking me out now. But anyway, yeah, besides that, one of the big focal points of Cadence was her marriage. And finally, it was believed that when you were honoring Frasier and giving her offerings, you would do so when you were dealing with love life, especially if it had any sexual component to it. Maybe I should remember that when me and Rosie meet for the first time. Anyway, to me that sounds like a far more flattering, far more compromised version of the love goddess, which is what Cadence essentially is. But I think what sinks it for me is that both characters are very heavily rooted in marriage. How rooted is Frasier in marriage? Well, just listen to this story. There's a story of a woman named Quernot who is a pagan from Tushan who says, and I quote, "I was in a relationship with someone who hurt me. Not just physically, but emotionally. I connected rather unexpectedly to Frasier when I was trying to work through it all, and she's really the one who gave me the strength and courage to get out and move forward with my life. I made an offering of blood to her, and while I don't know if that's what she especially wanted, it felt right at the time, and she accepted it, and looked after me when I needed her most." Okay, obviously, I don't expect you to make a blood offering to Frasier, obviously, but at the same time, the fact that people are that devoted to her powers of love and marriage really speaks volumes, and I think it's a perfect parallel to how strong the marriage of Cadence and Shining Armor is. Alrighty, next up, my favorite princess, Twilight Sparkle. This one's probably the most obvious and straightforward out of all of them. I think she's most related to Athena. I mean, once considered a god of knowledge, Twilight is a very knowledgeable pony. Wisdom and intelligence is another aspect of Athena, and Twilight's got that down too. Not to mention, one of Athena's domains is the city of Athens, which is supposed to be a very educated city, and Twilight herself, well, once lived in a library, but does still have a library in her castle, and has a whole school in her backyard. And if I'm recalling correctly, owls were also a very big symbol of Athena, and one of Twilight's pets is, of course, an owl. Now for what will probably be the easiest one out of all of them, Discord. I mean, let's just be honest, there's only one god Discord could possibly be in all of this. Loki or Eris. Both were very much tricksters, though Eris was more of a direct god of chaos and discord, whereas Loki was more a god of fire than being a trickster, and was apparently also the god of fatherhood. I guess when you become the father of Fenrir and the World Serpent, you become the god of fatherhood. And even though Loki did cause a lot of chaos, like killing Balder for example with mistletoe, he wasn't a direct god of chaos. Eris, on the other hand, was. Her literal title was the goddess of discord, chaos, and destruction, and she was the bringer and creator of lots of war and destruction for the Greek world, very much how Discord brings all of those things once he's revived. However, the reason why I'm bunching Loki in this is because, well, Eris kinda just does it because. Whereas Loki kinda did it because he wanted to have fun, just like Discord. Oh yeah, and also Loki causing the whole end of the world thing, which is kinda what Discord did. So yeah, this is the only time where I'm gonna bunch two gods together, as I believe these were the inspiration for Discord. Alrighty, last one for the video, we're gonna be talking about a curveball, Tarek. Now at first, Tarek seems pretty obvious. He's a centaur mixed with some interpretations of Satan. However, I think there's a god that shares a much stronger resemblance to Tarek, and his name is the Persian god Ahriman. I would also like to point out none of these are my native language, so I apologize if I butchered any or all of these names. For one thing, Arahim is only one half of two halves, as Arahim was the evil twin of a good god named Ahura Mazda, or the Wise Lord. Very much how Tarek and Scorpion were two halves, and one was a much more good, nice kind of person, while the other was just pure evil. And yes, while Scorpion was initially evil, he did turn good eventually. And what's interesting that I found in my research is that the Zoroastrianism, am I saying that right? Or the main religion of the Persian Empire, was one of the first major religions to have a clear sign of good and evil. Very much how most of the villains in MLP were just straight up evil and didn't have any gray morality. But I think what seals the deal for me anyway is the artist's interpretations of a Ahriman. Big horns, sharp teeth, sharp claws, pointy ears, a big muscular body. Yeah, it kinda looks like Tarek only without the four legs, doesn't it? And apparently Ahriman's biggest strength against humanity was that he used lust? Okay, I think I'm gonna end it here. Now obviously, again, I do have to say this is obviously all incredible speculation. I could be completely wrong in all of this, and they didn't take any interpretation from any of the gods when creating these characters. This was just a fun way for me to speculate and talk about other cultures. And heck, if you like this, be sure to tell me. I might look at other creatures in MLP and find out how they stack up with their real life mythical counterparts. But until then guys, I'm the Ultra Pony, and this is Why I Brony. I'll see you guys next time. Yay, end of the video title card, yay. Okay, so this was just a fun little Patreon video and a little idea I've had for some time now. And again, like I said, be sure to tell me if you like this, and I will definitely be doing some more in the future. But until then, if you want to join the Patreoners that made this episode possible and enter a monthly poll to find out what I'm going to be reviewing, then be sure to check out the description down below for my Patreon. Even donating as little as $1 a month not only helps me supremely, but it'll also get you access to my reviews a day earlier before anybody else. Well, I mean anybody else that isn't already a Patreoner, but whatever. But yeah, besides that, be sure to hit the little bell icon so you're updated when I release a new video. Follow me on Twitter so you can follow any live updates about my reviews, as well as anything I might be doing at cons or seeing any movies that are out. At the moment, I'm currently playing Empire TV Tycoon, and I plan to finish that up and then move on to hopefully a Cuphead livestream. There's gonna be drunk shenanigans afoot when I finally get the Cuphead, so be sure to follow me on Twitter for when that happens. Or you can just follow me on Twitch also. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching my video, but now I gotta head out of here. See you guys next time.